Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Amito and I am speaking right from Kampala, Uganda, East Africa. For those of you watching me for the very first time, you're most welcome. Kindly be a part of this very beautiful, humble and amazing family by subscribing to my channel, and also make it a point to like this video and all other videos that you will come across on this channel. Otherwise, I hope you guys are doing great and I hope that God is protecting all of you. In today's video, I'm here to rant, okay? I want to tell you guys my honest experience while house hunting here in Kampala, Uganda. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I know so many people out there are in the process of house hunting or are planning to house hunt or have been through this and do relate. They might think maybe they're the only ones who went through it, but I just want you to know that I also went through it and find ways of doing it better next time. And also I'm hoping that some of the house brokers stroke agents could be watching this video, and then also landlords could be watching this video. Hopefully at the end of the video, both parties, all parties actually, the tenants, the brokers, the landlords, will all have learned one or two things in this video. Without wasting your time, guys, recently I went into a house hunting spree. You guys, I needed a house. Mind you, this was my very first house hunting experience. Never in my life had I ever hunted for a house. I mean, I've been a baby all my life, so this time around, girl child had to grow up and look for a house. And you guys, my experience was the worst experience ever. So I want to tell you guys what exactly happens in Kampala. For those of you who have not house hunted before, you have plans of house hunting, I want to give you a clear picture of the things you could go through if you're not careful, okay? So this is what happens in Kampala, Uganda here. You're not just going to wake up one morning and go to your neighbor and ask them if they have a vacant house. That is not it. First of all, before you house hunt, you always have three things in mind. First of all, the location. Where do you want to stay? Secondly, price range. You have a limit. You could say, I want a house that doesn't exceed 500,000, or I want a house that doesn't exceed 800,000, or I want a house that doesn't exceed 150,000 Ugandan shillings. So you always have a price range. Lastly, you always have a spec. You always have a house in mind, like the kind of house you want in mind. Maybe I want a house that is in a very quiet environment. Maybe I want a house that is stand alone. Maybe I want a house that's on an apartment. Maybe I want a house that has amenities like a heater, like an askari, you always have those specs of what exactly you want. So after you having all that in mind, what happens here in Kampala is we have a group of people called brokers. For those of you who don't know who they are also agents. I think most people use agents. Most friends from other countries always use agents, so I'll use brokers stroke agents. So these are the people who link the tenant to the landlord. Like, it is their job, it is something they do for a living, like try to identify available vacant houses, and tell tenants, future tenants, about them, okay? So what happens here in Kampala is you look for a tenant. After getting the tenant takes you to different houses of their knowledge, and then you will choose from those houses whatever house befits you. Now, back to my experience. I needed a house. So what I did was, because I didn't know where to start from. The problem with me is that I had about 3 locations in mind. 3 to 4 locations in mind. I just wanted a place that was, quiet, a place that would help me uh, do whatever I do better, and then a place that is also not very far away from the city center. Okay, so I talked to a few friends. I didn't bump into anyone or something. I first talked to a few friends of mine, like 2 or 3 friends, and told them about what I wanted to do, and I requested them for help. So some of them were like, hey, we have some brokers that could be of help. So they gave me their brokers contacts. So the following day I called their brokers, and some of them were very kind enough to tell me that they weren't available to help me, or they were retired from being agents or brokers. And then I think 2 of them um, chose to help me, despite the fact that they failed. Yeah, I worked with them and they failed. So among those that my friends um, connected me to, there was one. You guys, actually, this one was the beginning of my trauma. I don't want to call it a trauma. Was the beginning of my worst experience. Okay, so this guy, actually, my friend told me it is his friend who gave him the number to that broker. So I called the broker because that broker was in one of those areas I wanted to stay in. So I call this broker, and I tell him about my hunt for the house, and I clearly told him the kind of house I wanted, my price, and the location. You understand? And then this broker's like, "Oh, it's okay. I can get you a house. Worry not. We can meet tomorrow." I was like, "Tomorrow, fine." The good thing is I was free the following day, and I made an appointment to meet them, and we met. So now you guys listen to this very carefully, because this is what almost every broker took me through. You understand? So I met this broker, and first of all, I should have read the flags. I should have read these red flags before. But given the fact that this was my very first experience ever, I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have known. So the very first thing is, we had an appointment for the following day, right? So I told this guy we will meet at a particular time, okay? 3-4 hours before the time I had stated, this guy was already calling and asking me where I was. So I told him, no, we had agreed on this time. Why are you calling me 3-4 hours earlier? He was like, oh, maybe I didn't hear that well. Okay, fine, but you can still make, because I'm going to be very busy later in the day. Why don't you spare time and you come meet me and we get done with this, like, for all? And I was like, okay. I tried to fix whatever I was doing within the time, and yeah, in 2 hours I was done, and I was on the judge going to meet this broker. So first of all, he didn't have like a clear location, so he just told me there is a supermarket here on this stage, blah blah blah, find me here. And then during that period, I was on a border getting to where this guy was. The calls, you guys, this guy was killing me with calls. You understand? He kept calling me. Katotu was like, where are you now? Katotu Sewa means where are you now? Where are you now? You've taken too long. Blah blah blah. I told him, you jam, like, I'm coming from a different part of the city and I'm meeting you on another part of the city. Kindly be patient. 20 minutes later, he's still calling. Oh my god. I think between the time I got the judge to the time I got to this guy, he had called me like 10 times. Anyway, I get to the place and I find this guy seated on a border, on some other border. So I tell him, yes, I am the girl who called you, like, I want a house, blah blah blah. So he asks me, okay, remind me, what house do you want? So I repeat the same things that I told him earlier on, or a day before. And then he's like, okay, I have so many houses, so many, you're even going to get lost for choice. Let's get to the road and I take you to all these houses. And I'm like, cool. But before we go, you need to pay me my deposit. I'm like, Deposit? What do you mean? So he tells me, yes, for us we are brokers, this is our job, so you're supposed to pay me 100,000, but before I get into showing you these places, you have to first deposit 50,000, and then I show you, because there are higher chances that I could show you these places, and then you go behind my back and go straight to the landlord and pay them your rent without paying me my sum. So we don't work that way. And I'm like, okay, I sincerely understood that, since it's his job. So I was okay with it. I got the 50,000 and gave it to him. So as I sat on the border, he told me that transport was on me. Both my transport and his was on me. Mind you guys, I'm getting my own border, he's getting his own border, and we are going to places that I don't even know. But being the cool girl that I am, I was like, okay, it's fine, let's go. So you guys started moving. Guy took me to different houses. Now I want to tell you guys, what this guy did to me is the same thing that several of them did to me. I think in the process I met around 8 to 9 brokers, and they all did the same thing to me. You understand? But given the fact that I needed the house, I still needed these brokers. Like, I clearly needed a house, and there's no way out for me to get a house except through brokers. I continued making the same mistakes over and over again. So this guy starts taking me to places. Now, the very first annoyance was that this guy took me, the first guy took me to like 7 houses. Out of the 7 houses, about 4 of them were already taken, and this guy clearly knew that these houses were taken, but he still took me to these houses. And every time we got there, either the scary or the neighbors or the people around would tell me, but that house was taken. The owner even came, and painting was done and all that. The guy is coming, he's entering the house at the end of the weekend, like at the end of the week. Then the other 2 houses that he showed me were above my price range. I mean, like by an extra 150 or 100. You understand? But this guy clearly knew what I wanted, but he still took me to places that were not in my league. And then the last house was not my spec. It was clearly not my spec. Like, you guys, Kampala brokers, Kampala house agents are evil. I think they have a special place in hell that they're going to be, like, all of them together. Okay, most of them, because of course I got one to 2 genuine ones, but all the other 8, 7 guys were Bafede. What Bafede means, con artists, con men in Uganda. So you guys, that is what I went through. If you are looking for a house, these are the things you should do and not do. The very first thing you should not do is get a random broker. Because at the end of it all, you don't know where this broker is. This broker could have been staying on Entebbe Road, and then the next time you call them, they are staying on Ginger Road. So don't just get any broker. The best thing you have to do is go to the places where you want to settle, where you want to stay. Go talk to different border men, about 2, 3, or 4 of them. Ask them for a broker in that area. Trust me, these guys normally know the good people. They'll get you. If you get one that everyone is talking about, go with that one. That one is the genuine one. Go with that one, and get yourself a place, get yourself a house. Okay. Number 2, don't pay these brokers a lot of money. Try to bargain. The initial deposit. If a broker tells you you're supposed to pay me 100,000, and yet you're supposed to pay me 100,000, initial deposit is like 50, blah blah. Tell them I don't have 100,000, because when these brokers get us houses, they get a cut from the landlords. The landlords pay them for that, you understand? So normally the landlords give them money according to how expensive or cheap the house you're going to stay in is, you understand? So if if a broker asks you for 100,000, tell them I'm going to give you 40,000 and I'm giving you 20 deposit, and then when I get the house I'll add you the 20. Try to bargain with them, because at the end of it all they need the money, and they'll still get you the house, because you guys, 40,000 is a lot of money. They need it, you understand? So try bargaining with them. Don't be like me, silly me. Then the other thing you should never do is, you'll get brokers that are going to convince you. They're going to take you to a place that you will so much fall in love with, and then they'll tell you, if you love the house, you can pay the rent. I'll give it to the landlord. Don't make that mistake. Don't make that mistake. Before you pay rent, first thing you should do is, okay, if you get a place and you love it, the first thing you should do is go back and come back without the broker. Come back to that place without the broker. Talk to a few neighbors. Ask them about the place, just to be sure that you're not going to get any problems later on after entering the house. Talk to the neighbors. They will give you a clear picture of how the area is, what happens, and whatever you're going to pass through while staying in that house. Secondly, come back and ask them how much the house is. Sometimes you're going to get a broker who is going to tell you that house is 800, but in actual sense the house is 650, you understand? 650,000 shillings. So make sure you come back without the broker and ask neighbors about how much they pay for those same houses. Number 3, make sure before you give anyone money, when you are paying for this rent, before you even pay, make sure you ask the neighbors who they pay rent to. Because now the broker is going to tell you to give them money, and then tomorrow you'll come wanting to enter the house, and the landlord will be like, I don't know you, who did you give your money to? So make sure you ask the neighbors to tell you who they pay the money to, the house rent to. After knowing that, on the date of paying this money, make sure you at least go with somebody. Don't go alone. Okay, even if you go alone, make sure this is the right landlord or property owner that you're dealing with. In the presence of the property owner and maybe the broker, pay your rent and make sure you get a receipt. If the rent is supposed to be paid in the bank, go pay and have the receipt. Don't entrust anyone with your money. Don't entrust these brokers with your money, because there's so many scenarios that didn't happen to me, but after me going through this, I talked to a few friends who told me the very terrible stories where someone had to pay a broker all their 4 months rent and the broker flee with the money. So make sure you don't make that mistake. And then the other thing I want to talk about is, if you can walk, if you can move, if you have time, like during the weekend, when you're less busy, try walking around and look for these houses yourself. That will save you that money you give to the broker, because you're not so sure whether the brokers you're going to pay are going to get you the houses or not. I'm not saying we should so much trust these brokers that are in the areas, because even them sometimes don't know these houses. They want the money, but they're going to take you to places that are not of your price range, places that are not of your spec, you understand? So if you have the time, kindly walk around, get some few 2 to 3 days, walk around and look for this house yourself, you understand? You can keep asking people around. People will be kind enough to show you available houses if they know any, okay? So the other thing you have to do is, when you get this broker, make sure this broker takes you to their office. Every village has an office for brokers, like they know each other. Just in case anything happens to you, you know where to run to and you know where to start from in case you're going to open up a police file. So make sure this broker takes you to where the offices are. That will save you that whole challenge of falling into thieves, brokers who are not brokers, who would take your money. So get a broker, tell them to take you to their offices, and then when you get to the offices, try to greet other people, like ask them if they know this guy, and if they confirm that they know him, go on with him and let him get you the house. I'm done with that. Now I want to talk to people who are out there wanting to invest in Kampala, Uganda. If you have your money and you are stuck on what to use the money for, sweetheart, enter into Kampala, Uganda's real estate. You're going to make a lot of money. Houses are very expensive in Kampala. You guys didn't tell me. But Kampala is so expensive. I was going to say expensive. Kampala is very, very expensive, you guys. Very, very expensive. But there's something that is perturbing me, and I feel like maybe the government needs to come in somewhere, somehow. You go to one area that is not so good. The security is, there, and the houses are not so good. They're very tiny. The environment is not so enticing, and the house is very, very expensive. You understand? And then you go to a different area that, or like just a few steps away from that same area, and there is another house that is way beautiful than this one you saw, way spacious, way better in terms of security and all that. And that house is way cheaper than this first one you saw. So my question is, isn't there a law in this Uganda that governs these real estates? I mean landlords, in pricing their houses? Because why would someone overprice a house that is not even worth it? And then why would you go and find another house that has it all but is very cheap? Like, what is the technique? Both these places are almost in the same community. One is better than the other, but the one that is better is even way cheaper than this other one. Like, what's the magic? What's the trick? What is it behind this pricing? I think the government should come in. This will help so many Ugandans, trust me. The government should come in and, try talking to these landlords, and like they get a pricing, like maybe in this area houses range from this price to this price, houses of this caliber range from this price to this price, so that it is easier for tenants. But Kampala houses are very expensive. Actually, most of them are very, very expensive for nothing. Like, there is nothing much to offer, but they're expensive. Expensive for what? So that is where I come in and tell you guys who want to invest in Kampala, Uganda, kindly come before real estate changes. Because if there is anyone in government watching my video, kindly talk to your bosses, like talk to Abab, so that this is looked into. But before this is looked into, whoever is out there and wants to invest, kindly invest in real estate. You're going to make a lot of money. Why? Because there's so many people looking for houses. I remember the times when we would get a house, and then the following day, I'm taking my time. The following day, I just want to come and inspect, like ask the neighbors, blah blah. And before I knew it, somebody had already entered the house. Like someone had already paid for the house. So every day there are people looking for houses. If you build your houses, make them beautiful, like give them the best amenities that so many of the Ugandans want to relate with. Believe me, you're going to make a lot of money from real estate, a lot of money. Okay, so that is it for my experience. I hope you guys learned 1 to 2 things from this video. If there is anything I've not talked about, kindly ask me in the comment section down below. But we thank God I finally got a house. Actually, now let me tell you, the house I got was the last house I checked. The last house. After me checking over 30 houses, this was the last house I chose. I checked, and it is the last house. It is the house I settled with. So another thing, what does this teach you? Be patient. Once you are in a hurry, once you keep rushing these brokers and give them a time limit of, I only have 2 days to get a house, these guys are going to use that chance to milk money from you. Don't show them how this. Sorry, somebody called me. I'm using my phone. I always use my phone. So don't show them how desperate you are. I was saying, don't show them how desperate you are. Tell them I want a house, but I'm not in a hurry, but I want a house. So move with them. They should know that you're not desperate, because once you show them you're desperate, they're going to milk a lot of money from you. Otherwise, this video is becoming very, very long, and I don't want it to be this long. I want to say thank you to all of you for sitting down and watching this video and watching me talk about all this that I've talked about. I'm forever grateful. I don't take that lightly, and I hope that so many of you have learned one or two things from this video. I love you guys, and hopefully in the next video I will try to show you the houses, some of the houses that I saw, and maybe the house I settled with. You never know. So yeah, be so much waiting for my next video. I love you so much, guys, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. May God bless you and bless you abundantly. Bye bye.